Todd Bridges is the actor who most of us came to know from his role as Willis Jackson on Different Strokes. Later in his life, he worked as a commentator on True TV Presents World's Dumbest, and he also had a recurring role as Monk on Everybody Hates Chris. The first role that I can recall seeing him in was a guest appearance on Little House of the Prairie, and no lie, his performance as Solomon Henry, the only little black boy in Walnut Grove who just wanted an opportunity to have an education, brought tears to my eyes. To see that performance, one would have thought he'd have gone into dramatic acting instead of comedic acting. There was a genuineness and an innocence in that particular performance of his that was really hard-hitting. But did you know that there were two separate occasions in the late 80s and early 90s when Todd Bridges' innocence was in question? This had nothing to do with an acting performance. These were real-life attempted murder charges that he was facing. Let's get into it. But first, if you like these videos about your favorite and most scandalous celebrities from yesteryear that make the Ty Said What Ty Said channel a time capsule for the culture, subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you can know every time that I upload one of these videos or every time that I live stream, and comment "I subscribed" in the comment section so that I can say hello to you. Now, on to why you are here. The incident that brought along this criminal case happened in 1989. This is 3 years after Different Strokes was canceled, the show that he had been a major part of for the majority of his acting career. And I don't think that there's any need to get into all of the details of just how low each of the Different Strokes kids had fallen in their personal lives after the show was over. But I'm sure that you can imagine that for Todd Bridges, who had been steadily employed as an actor since he was 6 years old and now unable to find work in his mid-20s, this was an uncertain and desperate time in his life. In order to cope with everything that he was going through, and some dark times from his past that he suffered through no fault of his own, Todd Bridges turned to drugs. He went from being a casual user of cocaine to being hooked on crack. And it was at one of those crack houses, or rock houses as the Los Angeles news outlets were calling them, that he would be accused of trying to take someone's life. Here are the details that he was up against. The incident occurred on February 2nd, 1989. By the end of that year, there was a trial that had Todd Bridges on the hook for the point-blank shooting of convicted Texas drug dealer Kenneth "Tex" Clay. As the district attorney told the story, the drug dealer, Tex, stole Todd Bridges' BMW. And because of that, Todd Bridges shot Tex 8 times at a South Central Los Angeles drug house. Tex recovered from the gunshot wounds to his arms and chest. Remember, the charge was attempted murder. Well, the prosecution said that Todd Bridges did it. Todd Bridges said that he didn't. That sounds simple enough, right? Well, things got iffy when the prosecution said that Todd Bridges admitted to the shooting when he was being booked. Let's take a look at what else the prosecution had on their side. The prosecution also had 2 eyewitnesses who claimed to have seen Todd Bridges with a gun just before the shooting. The prosecution also had the testimony of the shooting victim himself, the drug dealer, Tex. He claimed that Harvey Duckett, an associate of Todd Bridges, kicked the door down, then Todd Bridges stood over him, shooting him. Tex testified that he and Todd Bridges had argued several times. The DA said that Todd Bridges had also threatened to kill Tex because he believed Tex was responsible for having Todd's BMW impounded. Well, all of that, plus Todd saying that he did it, that should be it, right? The Deputy District Attorney, William Hodgman, urged jurors to convict Todd Bridges of premeditated attempted murder, which carried a potential life prison term. Yes, he wanted Todd Bridges to be locked away for life. How was Todd Bridges ever going to get out of this? He would need a really good defense attorney on his side. Enter Johnnie Cochran. Hey, just because he said he did it doesn't mean that he did it. He was high on drugs. Are you really going to take his word for it? That was basically Johnnie Cochran's argument. But to word it better, he argued that his client was in the middle of a 4-day cocaine binge during the attack at the drug den, and that someone else shot Tex. Yes, this is a photo of Johnnie Cochran and the DA for Todd Bridges' case. But here's a fun fact. This photo is from the OJ Simpson trial. Yes, after Todd Bridges' case was over, Johnnie Cochran and William Hodgman would meet in court 6 years later to be on opposite sides again in the case of another high-profile black male defendant. But back to this case. Here are the other weapons that Cochran used to counter the prosecution's eyewitnesses and verbal admission from Todd Bridges. Johnnie Cochran had a former co-defendant of Todd Bridges who was looking guilty because he took a plea deal. The co-defendant was Harvey Duckett. He pleaded guilty to an accessory charge and in exchange for his testimony was promised leniency. According to Cochran, Todd Bridges was wrongfully labeled as a defendant and was actually a victim in the case, a cocaine addict who fell prey to violent drug dealers. Todd Bridges testified that he did not remember shooting Kenneth Tex Clay after he and Harvey Duckett entered the house, where for weeks he had lived and repeatedly smoked or freebased rock cocaine. Todd Bridges testified, quote, "I decided to kick the door in to see if we could scare Tex into leaving. We kicked the door in. Tex jumped out. I saw a silver-plated gun in his hand. I thought he was going to kill me. It happened so fast. There was a flash and bam, I was out. I don't remember anything else until I came to outside the house." End quote. When asked by Johnnie Cochran if he remembered shooting Tex, Todd Bridges replied, "I don't think I did. I don't know who did. That's one of the side effects of drugs." Todd Bridges testified that the shooting came following a round-the-clock 4-day cocaine binge in which he consumed about 14 grams of the drug each day. Leave it up to Johnnie Cochran to use his own client's drug use as a defense to prove his innocence. Johnnie Cochran argued that Bridges was so heavily under the influence of cocaine at the time of the incident that even if he did shoot Clay, he could not have intended to kill him. Therefore, Cochran argued, Bridges should not be convicted of attempted murder. In addition to the arguments that Johnnie Cochran put before the jury in his signature and persuasive style, I'm sure, Todd Bridges had one more thing on his side: his own celebrity status. The DA, William Hodgman, seemed to think that the jury was swayed because they were fans of Todd Bridges. Was the DA being salty, or was there some truth to what he said? After all, it is documented that at least one juror asked Todd Bridges for his autograph. Well, after the jury deliberated, Todd Bridges was acquitted. He breathed a heavy sigh and said that he felt a lot of relief that it was over. It took 2 trials, but he was first acquitted of attempted murder, then subsequently acquitted of an assault charge pertaining to the same incident. The DA said that Todd Bridges was acquitted because normal rules didn't apply when the defendant was a celebrity. Maybe he was being salty. Maybe there was a little bit of truth in what he was saying. Maybe it's a little bit of both. What do you think? Was Todd Bridges acquitted only because of his celebrity status? Write your answer in the comment section so that we can get that discussion going. Now, let's get into the second time that Todd Bridges was arrested for attempted murder. In March of 1993, Todd Bridges was arrested on suspicion of attempted murder after he allegedly stabbed his tenant with a kitchen knife in his suburban Los Angeles house. The tenant's name was David Kitchen. He was 23. He suffered a puncture wound to his right lung after a fight with Todd Bridges on a Sunday afternoon. David Kitchen was renting a bedroom in Todd Bridges' house in Sun Valley. He had been renting for about a month when this incident occurred. David Kitchen ended up in serious condition in a local hospital. Well, thankfully for Todd, This case didn't go nearly as far as his first case did. Prosecutors dropped the charges after hearing how David Kitchen had attacked Todd Bridges with a sword in an argument over rent. David wasn't paying it. When Todd Bridges tried to evict him, David Kitchen attacked Todd with a sword. Todd's actions were seen as self-defense. For just a moment, let's take a look at some things that Todd Bridges shared about his personal life in the first trial for the shooting of the drug dealer. Todd Bridges testified that after Different Strokes went off the air in 1986, his life quickly declined because he could not find work. He lost $1.5 million to embezzlers. He was ordered to pay $800,000 in back taxes, and he became suicidal. He said that he started snorting cocaine socially in 1982, but by late 1988, when he was nearly destitute and had moved into the Rock House, he was using the drug daily. All of that to say, it's good to see him clean and sober and living a life that seems to make him happy. Knowing how his television siblings, Gary Coleman and Dana Plato's lives ended so tragically, it's all the more wonderful to see Todd Bridges, the last surviving cast member of Different Strokes, living a fulfilling life. My sources for this video are the Associated Press, UPI, and South Florida Sun Sentinel. If you want text notifications so that you can get a text 15 minutes before I release a video or 15 minutes before I live stream, simply send a text to 786-632-2135 to let me know that you want text, and you will get an outgoing text message 15 minutes before I have a new video release. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Ty Said What Ty Said channel. Please leave a thumbs up and comment so that we can get a discussion going. And share this video on all of your social media, especially your Facebook. That really helps me out a lot. And subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you can know when my next video is ready for you. And if you don't like what I'm saying but you love it, feel free to hit that applaud button just below your video screen there and send me some
donations.
Yeah, baby. See you on the next video.